Today, I want to talk to you about the media and manners, specifically about women in the media and what happens when one woman chooses to share her truth. This is unlike a lot of my usual videos. I usually post marketing, publicity, faith stuff, encouragement stuff, but today I'm actually choosing to talk about something that is very much in the news. Now, this is not a political post by any means. I'm not supporting or really criticizing, but I am observing as a human, all right? I'm observing as a human because when you watch a story that kind of takes on a life for itself, I get fascinated from the media perspective, but also as a person, I have an opinion. I'm affected by it. And I think it's really a wonderful example of how important the media is in creating a narrative and also how you can use the media, no matter what position that you're in, at any time to get your message across. Now, I'm talking specifically today about Grace Tame. She was recently the Australian of the Year last year in 2021. And she recently had a photo op with the Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. And she showed up, she shook his hand, and was incredibly frosty to him. Didn't say anything, didn't smile. She said nothing. It was a very quick exchange for about 3 seconds, and then she walked away. And it was interesting because actually, usually at this time, the person who gets the most publicity is the incoming Australian of the Year, a gentleman that deserves it so much and is a very worthy recipient. Well, this story has been overshadowed by a couple of things. It was by that there was a huge media outcry, the fact that a woman would be so rude to the Prime Minister. How disrespectful. Keep in mind, she never actually said anything to him. She shook his hand and she stood for a photo. She wasn't welcoming. She didn't look like she wanted to be there, but she didn't actually say anything that was rude. But a few things have fed into this, and this is where it becomes really important what the context is. There were people saying that she should have been rude. She should have even stayed home because that would have been kinder than what she did. And it's interesting because I wrote a book about kindness. It's called Grit, Grace, and Hustle. And I'm all about kindness and how important it is in your career and in your business. But I also believe in authenticity. And I actually believe that as a woman, she made a protest in a very powerful way. She didn't say a word, but her language and her actions, her body said it all, that she was unimpressed, that she wasn't impressed with leadership. And actually, if you look back a bit of the last year, she has communicated that, but that was her one final shot to make make a statement. That was her moment, and she used it. Did she use it well? Well, I'm talking to you about it, aren't I? She has certainly made it a national conversation again. She talks about sexual abuse. She is a huge advocate for women. And if you want to read more of her story, I would highly encourage you to. But the point that I actually want to talk about here, and the point I'm really trying to make is, A, was she unkind by what she did? No. She wasn't. She was a woman who stood up and, she stood next to a leader, but had her own personal agency and to herself said, I don't need to cross the line and pretend like I'm happy with you when I'm not. She had her own personal agency in that moment. Now, she could have had a rant at him. She could have been overly disrespectful. She could have verbally said something angry and showed her feelings. That would have labeled her as the angry woman. And we all know what happens when you do that. So she used the media to get her message across without even saying a word. I call that a silent but very powerful protest. It reminds me of, I think it was in the 1970s, Jane Fonda won an Academy Award, and she was currently, at that time, she was protesting heavily, I think the American government, about some issues, some very powerful issues. And people said to her when she won that Oscar that she should refuse it. She should refuse it because of everything that's been happening, and and she should use it as a massive message. What she did was she got up, she accepted it, but her language, she basically used her language to protest, and her language was, there's a lot of things to say here, but this is not the right time to say it. She understood the context of the media and the context of the moment, and what would be the most powerful protest. And sometimes it's less words, sometimes it's no words, sometimes it's choosing your moment. And so I would encourage you to have a look at it, gather your own opinion. And B, it's a woman who, frankly, she's sharing her authentic truth. I support that. Was it the best way? I'm sure there are other ways, but she had one shot. She had one moment, and she used it the best that she knew how. And for that, I support her. For that, I say, well done, lady. And I'm so glad that the media covered it so that we can have the conversation we're having now. I'm a big fan of women. I don't consider myself a feminist by any means, but I do think it's time to have that conversation. And more than anything, it's time that if you have any position that you're allowed to have access to a media platform, there are so many ways to get your message out there that will help change the conversation. It's a powerful tool. It's a powerful vehicle. And you don't have to yell. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be overly disrespectful, but you can do some very powerful things to make it clear what your message is, and media is a powerful tool to do that. I hope you use it. I hope you look at all of our videos, and I hope you subscribe to our newsletter list so that you can see, how can I use the media to get my message across in the world? How can I use it to be authentic? How can I be kind but also fierce? There's a way to do that, and I think she demonstrated very powerfully. There are a number of different ways that you can change the conversation nationally and even globally. So I hope you check it out. Thanks so much for watching.